Everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and today, as he just said, I'm gonna try to talk a little bit about vineyard cover cropping, trying to set some main points that we need to keep in mind when trying to manage vineyard cover crops in a more sustainable way. Let me just go on. Oh, it's not allowing me to go on. Okay, the first technical issue just happened, but everything is good. So we're gonna start with a little bit of very brief definition on how vineyard cover cropping can be defined. And then we'll talk about ecosystem services and the services that can be generated from using cover crops in the vineyard, the so-called externalities. And we will see some of those examples. And of course, as Francesco just said, then Giovanni is the one going to share with us and bring us some practical evidences, some experiences from the field and things like that. So starting with some definition, how do we define cover cropping in the vineyard or vineyard grassing? Well, that can be defined based on the point of view from which it is observed. Indeed, we can define vineyard cover cropping based on the composition, on the duration of the grass cover or the lifetime, or again, we can define it based on the surface of the vineyard soil that is affected by the herbaceous species. Knowing the grass cover composition is very, very important. I would say it's a key element when trying to predict and anticipate the related effects, both the advantages and the disadvantages that could be generated, right? So the one we called ecosystem services and disservices. So when thinking about composition, the grass cover can, in this case, be defined as either a natural grass cover or artificial. When thinking about natural grassing, we think about it being composed of spontaneous species like flora that settled when the soil is not tilled for a certain period of time. And this is, especially in Italy, still widely used as, first of all, because it's less expensive. So it is economically more convenient. However, we do need to remember, and I'm pretty sure every one of you already knows it, but those that are the spontaneous grass species are more likely to be those of highly competitive potential towards the vine. That's why most of the time actually leading towards a more artificial grassing could be an idea, because in that case we're gonna sow one or more herbaceous species, and in that case selection of species that are less competitive and at the same time are going to allow us to achieve as many advantages and benefits as possible is crucial. I would say it's essential. Of course, on that side, when we think about artificial grassing, we do have higher costs because, yeah, first of all, the seeds do cost. And well, there's also one thing connected to the time and duration, because when thinking about artificial grassing, most of the time we do need some periodical sowing to renew the grass cover as well. So this also not only more money, but more time to invest. Vineyard grass cover can also be defined based on the duration of the cover itself. And so in this case, we can talk about a permanent or a temporary grass cover. And when thinking about permanent grassing, we do think about it as with the grass cover that is, of course, all year round. And it's very interesting because in this case, grassing benefits are fully exploited. However, there's a well-known potential summer water competition problem. So competition for water, we all know that it's very much feared. I would say it's maybe one of the most feared disadvantage we think about when we think about using cover crops in the vineyard, especially when we are in Mediterranean areas such as we are in this climate change we are facing right now. Well, in that case, of course, we do need to develop different strategy for managing the grass cover. And so, for example, mowing could be used, and periodical mowing are very much needed. And of course, the number and the frequency of the mowing event do depend on the herbaceous species itself. When thinking about temporary grass cover, that is often, of course, because of what we just said, often used in those environments with low water availability, where grass cover persists for a limited period of time, and then it's often interrupted in springtime when water competition towards the vine is mostly feared. Last but not least, we do define, and we can define, the grass cover or vineyard cover cropping based on the surface. Indeed, we talk about either about total grassing or partial grassing. So total grassing is, of course, when all the vineyard surface is grassed. It does allow, as we just said, also for permanent grass cover to benefit, to have the grass cover benefit to be maximized, of course. However, we do have the risk of excessive competition for water and nutrients from the grass cover to the vine. Therefore, yeah, I would say that is why partial grassing can be considered as an interesting alternative. And in that case, only part of the soil surface is grassed, and tillage grass ratios can be differently arranged and yeah, just thought. So depending on the needs, we can arrange different ratios of tillage and grass. And for example, such as in the photo we see, like behind the written part of this slide, we can have a grass interrow every other interrow, as in this picture here we see. There's many other ways, of course. That was just an example. And even though those we just went through seem to be a slide of just definitions, I think they do have an important role, and they need to be considered truly when we plan and try to find the perfect recipe for using cover crops in our vineyard, and when we want to achieve a higher sustainability management for the vineyard itself. Indeed, there's no recipe, there's no rule that works everywhere in every circumstances, and we have to work through it and find our own fit. So those are pieces of the puzzle. I like to think about them like this, and we do need to add one more piece of the puzzle, which is questioning ourselves, what do I want to obtain from vineyard cover cropping? What is the main goal I want to achieve? And then after I know what I want to achieve, I can start thinking about all these pieces of, okay, I want to achieve that. So I can think about using that specific cover crop instead of this other, and I can mix it together with some other species, and then maybe I can have a permanent grass cover, and so far so on. So yeah, I think keeping in mind this whole situation, that is a complex situation, is very important. Also because there's so many services and disservices that can be generated when using or thinking about using cover crops in the vineyard. This graph here, I really like that because it's showing very well many advantages and disadvantages that can be generated when using cover crops in the vineyard, and they are expressed as both effective on the vineyard itself or as output. We see many advantages such as soil biodiversity increase, but also some disadvantages, such as the one we just said, competition for water or for nutrients, and as an output from the vineyard, the disservices is actually the grape yield reduction. This is another table I really like, and I'm showing it as much as I can, because I think it, even though it's not completely, it's not complete, it's not, yeah, I think it shows in a very easy and straightforward way what we have to think about, the complexity of the situation. And so on the right side, we do have, sorry, on the left-hand column, we do have several species. Of course, they're not all of them, there's just a bunch of them. There might be so many more, but I think it's fine for the purpose of the example here. And they are divided in non-legumes, brassicas, and legumes. And if we see on the other column here, we do see some other potentially interesting features we might want to look for when selecting the species we want to use in our cover crop mix or grass cover. So we see nitrogen source, soil builder, we see erosion fighter with fighter or quick growth pattern. And of course, I think it's written in the legend here, though it's very small, so it's pretty impossible to read, but it's also pretty easy to understand. So the more the circle is colored, the greater the capacity of that species is to provide that potential benefit. So this is also useful because we might want also to think how to match and put together different species to achieve the goal we want to achieve. Let's see some examples. For example, if we look at the bottom of the table here and we look at legumes, for example, we can look at some clovers. We see that they do, of course, have a high potential for nitrogen supply. But looking at the other parameters, such as soil physical features that can improve, in that case, we see that even though belonging to the same group, the intensity and their potential does very much vary depending on the species itself. So again, we see how much things can change even though belonging to the same group. What about brassica, for example? If we look at radish, of course, we now, in that case, we do not see any nitrogen source. Of course, it's not a legume, though we do see that it has a potential as a nitrogen scavenger, which is the ability to take up, store the excessive nitrogen, which could also be something we want to look for, right? And also, yeah, in that case, radish is also good in terms of weed fighting, so controlling weed. And also when we look at improving soil characteristics, it does also its job. So yeah, there's many of them. We can just see one example of these benefits and advantages. We did say that cover crops can help preventing soil from crusting and sealing, so they do improve soil structure. Of course, it might depend on the type of cover crop species we do select, right? And they also protect the soil from erosion, either from wind or water erosion. And we can see that from this picture. I think there's no need of like talking here, right? We see that the erosion, the water erosion in this case is very evident in the tilled bare soil situation interrow, while in this interrow, which is grassed, even though it's not fully grassed, it's not green, though we see that the effect of the root system in avoiding and protecting the soil from erosion, it's very important. Let's see one example here. I wanted to just bring here, and we can see in this slide that it shows one of the results of a trial that was conducted in Sicily in a vineyard that tried to assess the soil erosion when having different soil management practices. So we do have a control, which is a full tillage, and that was compared with other treatments having alternation of soil tillage with cover crops, that we see all the cover crops used in this list over here. And the graph actually shows the cumulative soil loss into following years from 2005 from November to October of 2005 to 2006, and then from November to October of 2006 and 2007. Let's see some results. What they did see and confirm is that cover crops do have a positive effect in terms of conservation and preventing erosion, especially when compared to the bare soil, so the conventional tillage. And in particular, they did see that depending, of course, on the type of species that were part of the cover crop mix or that were indeed being part of the grass cover, the effect of the reduction of erosion was different. In that case, in this trial, they found out that the highest erosion control was found in the cover crop mix of TFF, which is the one having both Festuca rubra elvina and Tirfolia subterraneum together, and the other one having both Vicia faba and Vicia sativa. While the lowest effect was actually found in terms of controlling erosion, of course, was found when having only Vicia faba as grassing the interrow. So this is just an example. Of course, there are so many options and situations. That was just one of the examples of the benefits we can have from using cover crops, right? And we did talk a little bit about the services as well. We did say they can be considered as input disservices, so that they do have an effect on the vineyard itself, but they can also be considered as output disservices, such as grape yield reduction. When thinking about the services in general, especially those considered as input disservices, as we said before, the one that is most feared, like it's probably competition for water, and that's why we're gonna see a couple of results about that. This is a very interesting trial that was conducted in Bologna area, I'm pretty sure, where in that case evapotranspiration and evaporation, so soil daily water use was assessed for a whole month. That was month of May in 2012 or 2013, I don't remember actually, but I guess. And in that case, we see that trials and treatments were actually soil tillage, which is actually the control, and then there was an interrow grass with Festuca rondinacea. And the first time here we see the comparison between the unmowed and the mowed situation. As it's shown here, with the dark bars are representing the unmowed grass treatment. So in that case, we have the grass cover that was increasing the height, and so we have the monitor. They did monitor the evapotranspiration and the potential competition during time. And then the lightly gray one is actually the mowed one. So they did cut the grass and they did monitor the effect of mowing in terms of reduction of the evapotranspiration, which also means reduction of potential competition towards the vine. So I think this is very interesting. So here we do see again in the 28 days, just few conclusion about this trial. So in those 28 days of May, the average daily consumption was, of course, higher for the no-mowed grass, so the black one, which actually recorded around 3.5 millimeters per day. And the effect of mowing on grass water consumption was evident, especially in a short period of time. So mowing reduced evapotranspiration by 30% within the first 4 days, while after that, savings of 10 to 20% were recorded, which is still good, but not that impressive anymore. Last thing about this trial I wanted to show you is that, of course, they did confirm that soil tillage had the lowest water loss. So evaporation in the soil tillage treatment were 48 and 30% lower than a mowed and mowed treatments. But it's interesting to notice that after the raining event that are shown and indicated by those black arrows, actually soil tillage recorded evapotranspiration levels, so rates of water loss that were pretty high, almost as high as both of the grass treatments, which is one thing to consider and take in mind. So similar to the trial we've just seen, I wanted to report also the result from this trial that was conducted in Piacenza. In this case, 15 different species were selected and considered together with, of course, a bare soil one control. Those species were actually divided in 3 groups. So they had legumes, grasses, and the so-called creeping plants. And those species selected were some of them already used in the vineyard soil management, but other could actually be introduced as new grass cover. For example, those belonging to the creeping plants group could be used as under the vine living mulch grassing. So that is pretty interesting trial. And in that case, as the one we saw just one slide before now, water consumption assessment were performed, and both before and after the mowing. So again, we will see the effect of mowing in terms of reduction of evapotranspiration, so potential competitions, and how long does that effect last in time. Together with water consumption in this trial, also other parameters were also observed, such as above and below ground biomass development, so root characterization and above ground characterization as well. Let's dive into some results here. So this shown here are the daily cumulative water consumption of those 15 herbaceous species we just talked about, and the bare soil, which is the control, the yellow here. And for each treatment, we see daily cumulative water consumption before and after the mowing event. So going from lighter to darker shades of color. So before, and then it's like going after mowing, like it's like up at 2, 8, 17, and 25 days from mowing. As it's stated here, the conditions were actually perfect to grow, so there was no limited condition, especially in terms of water. So this is something we have to consider when looking at the data that look pretty high, but we want to take as a comparison point the control, which is the bare soil, and so we're gonna compare those. And also one thing I want you to take into account and consideration when looking at this graph is that for creeping plants only, the in the case of creeping plants, only the biomass exceeding the pot's edges was removed, as they're not supposed to be trimmed innate, while for legumes and grasses, they were trimmed at 4 centimeters height. And well, looking at this, we can easily see there is important differences between groups and also within the groups. And of course, legumes show up as being the one having the highest water use rates, except for Medicago polymorpha, which is indeed used in south of Italy and in some more hotter situation and areas. While looking at grasses, we kind of see a more homogeneous situation, except for Festuca rondinacea, which shows the highest values and rates in terms of evapotranspiration. And on the opposite side, we do see Festuca ovina with the lowest rates. Now let's see at how it's going after the mowing in terms of reduction of evapotranspiration. So right just after 2 days from the mowing event, we see that there is a reduction in terms of evapotranspiration that is proportional to the biomass that has been removed. And so it ranged from 15 to 25% in grasses, while it ranged from 56 to 73% in legumes. After that, we see that depending on the group, so especially looking at legumes and grasses, we do see a different behavior, and that's pretty obvious, but it's interesting to notice that it's pretty homogeneous in grass group, for example. So we see that as the above ground biomass is starting to grow back up, the evapotranspiration reduction is actually progressively cancelled. Only in Festuca rondinacea and Lolium perenne, we do still see a difference in terms of evapotranspiration rates when compared to the before mowing event. When if we look at legumes, we do see that, of course, they do not tend to grow back once cut. And so most of them do not show as high evapotranspiration rates as the before mowing, except for Lotus corniculatus, that actually is the one who grew back up in terms of above ground biomass. And so it did recover fully, and so touched again evapotranspiration rates the same of the before mowing, while Medicago Lupolina actually only partially recovered. And so those are all considerations we might keep in mind when thinking about using mowing as an effective tool to manage evapotranspiration, so potential competition towards the vine. I'm going to close that out and wrap it up with this last pictures that resembles a little bit the one I showed before. And in this case, again, we do see the 15 species of the trial we just talked about, of the pot trial. And as I said at the beginning, together with water use, they also did scan the above ground biomass and also the below ground biomass, so the root land density and root dry weight. And again, we see that there's so many variables we have to consider, and even though belonging to the same group, different species do have different can have a different impact. And so there's so many things to think about when trying to use cover crops in the vineyard. I hope this was useful, and thank you so much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Caterina. I can see that the next speaker, Giovanni Bigot, is connected. I don't know if Giovanni, you can try to turn on your webcam. Otherwise, we will just share your presentation. Because Giovanni, the next speaker, is a consultant from a region in the northeast of Italy, from Venezia Giulia. He follows a lot, actually, different companies, wineries in Italy, but also abroad, and at the moment is in Macedonia, and he probably landed a few hours ago, so I don't know if he was able to get a good internet connection to have a presentation. So we recorded his presentation ahead of schedule, so we'll be sharing it now. For sure, some of you is not, a few of you will not be able to see the recordings. So if that happens, be sure to log out of the webinar and come back in later, so that you can be sure to see it. So I'll be sharing the presentation. So Caterina, you can turn off your webcam and your microphone, and I'll leave you all to the recordings of Giovanni Bigot presentation. So good webinar.
Good morning, I'm Giovanni Bigot, and I'm an agronomist and owner of the company Per le Uve in Friuli Venezia Giulia, in northeast of Italy. My experience is made about vineyard management in all the different aspects that are needed to produce quality grapes and quality wines. In our work, we have made many experience also with the soil management and coverings, like cover grass, how to manage this in the vineyard. In this 25 experience years, with my team, of course, we have evaluate and adapt different tools and techniques and practice to introduce in our clients in different regions of Italy and out of Italy, new practices to manage better. I don't know if it's better, but it's different. It's different from the common management of the grass, in particular for the grass. I have made this presentation using some of the reels posted on Instagram, and if you want, you can also follow me and like if you want this in the future. Okay, go to present the first one. There are tilled or cover grass manage traffic. No, there are many reasons to prefer cover grassing, but I think the most important is microbial activities and biodiversity. That it's also one of the 9 parameters of Bigot index, which one, influence of the quality of the grape and therefore of the wine. Now I show you this short reel and comment with you. Here you can...
Era l'unico modo per contenere le erbe infestanti.
You can see the traditional manage of the soil in the center of the Sardinia in Italy, but there we suggest we introduce the grass covering of the soil to protect, to have more beneficials, to increase the biodiversity in many different vineyards. Also, we manage the rounded of forest and bushes and so on, not only plants in the vineyards. We have made decisively increased the biodiversity, and also in the grapes you can feel this increasing. This was the first small reel made to promote the cover grass instead of tilled, in particular in the regions where this is not easy to introduce, also for cultural problems. The second one is the green manure does not increase organic matter. What I mean that many of technicians and also the wine growers thought that the green grass in the soil increased organic matter, but this is not true. In this short reel, I show you what is the most important things. Now I change and we can follow together. The cover grass don't increase organic matter because the cover grass is not fermented, is not in the cover grass there aren't humic and fulvic acid. For that we promote to produce ourselves the manure, the compost produced by the residual from the production in the farmer, in the company, like residual of pruning wood and organic manure and skins, and after produce this compost with microorganisms introduced to promote the fermentations. This organic matter after 6 months or 7 months is ready to put where is most important to increase this level. We check every vineyard every year to have the evaluation of the vigor, and because the vigor increase the quality in the wines. For that, we work with organic matter produced in ourselves. Okay. Go on in the next steps, and what is the positive effects of green manure in the soil is that it improves soil structure, and also another time biodiversity. Which was the content? The content in this reel was just a moment. I lost the connection with the other screen. Okay. We have made this cover crop, we sow this grass, different kind of seeds to increase the biodiversity, to increase the nitrogen fixation, and we and we know that these cover grass promote and increase the soil structure. In particular, for us, this is the result. The most important result is improves the structure of the soil. These herbaceous plants, different from different families, to have more complexity, different roots for each one that explore differently the soil. Also, with during the flowering, many insects and also others are attract from these herbaceous and this grass present in the vineyard. This was about the what you mean green manure improves all structure, which is now arrived in these two new practices. The one is the rolling of the green manure to reduce water loss and reduce soil temperature. Now go to see which was the content of this. Rolling the green grass in the vineyard is very easy with this tool. This tool is something like flat, became flat, the vegetal cover, the cover crop, and this protects the soil from the temperature during the spring and then the summer. It's very thin, it's very large layer, and we have measured the difference in temperature from the tilled soil and grass cover soil, and the temperature is 3-4 degrees less in cover grass soil. This help the soil to maintain more water, to reduce the temperature of the soil and reduce the water lost from in particular during the summer. Nice, very okay. We are right here. This is a practice that we have introduced in many different wineries in Slovenian and in Italian, and also in other regions. Another important results that suggest us to promote another time the role green manure is then you can allow the herbaceous plants to go to seed and self-reseed. Rapidly, we can go to see also this reel in which why we have to make this operation in the vineyard. It's very because the plants remain live or semi-live. It's enough to arrive to complete ripe of the seeds. These seeds go down in the soil, and after regrow in the end of the summer, in which is very important to have a natural reseed. I mean, with this practice, we promote not every year seed absolutely and mandatory in each vineyard, but it's possible to have a natural bank of the seeds in your vineyard, increase with the rolling grass cover. In the end of the season, the rolling of the green manure also allow it to go to seed and natural, very simple reseeding, ready for the next season. You can see the draw that in this video you can see the dry straw, which has maintained humidity necessary for the soil and for the germination of the seeds. Go to see. Here we are in Sauvignon Vert Ronzegla, a very specific cru of Marian Sinčić. Here you can see in the September of the last year what's happened after rolling. Many of the plants, in particular Samph, are re-germinated alone. It was very, very beautiful effect and very beautiful results for this. You can see the roots are young, are in develop, and these plants will have all the autumn and also in part of the winter to increase. After 9 months, these roots became 2, 3, 4, 5 times more larger and deeper. This is the very important effects for the structure of the soil in the vineyards in where is necessary like this. After this part about around how to manage the grass, the cover grass of the soil in the vineyard with the rolling, now I want to show you another practice for the quality viticulture. In the Castello of Cigognola, in Oltrepo Pavese, we have brought together with the company staff and also with the University of Piacenza and Matteo Gatti and others and other wineries we have tested an innovative tillage, no tillage tool with simultaneous sowing that thrilled all present. Really, this minimal tillage of the soil makes it possible to combine the vitality of the soil with the reduction of the risk of erosion, two particularly important issues for the entire Oltrepo Pavese area. Comparison, sharing, and scientific approach are the basis for growing and obtaining great wines. Yes, because look, this was just a picture in which we was together to evaluate after the first work. There was another moment about the minimum tillage management. In this test we have sowing minimum with the test using minimum soil tillage also in Umbrian territory, where it's very difficult soil as they are very clayey and compact and with easily compact situation. Compared to the north, they suffer for multiple summer stresses, especially in the year when the rain are very few, like last year, 2022. Also in Umbria, we wanted to understand how to help the soil to not compact, to decompact, and how to give it fertility starting from the top, from minimal surface tillage to gradually deepen and increase soil fertility. In this test was done in Di Filippo and Terre Margheritelli companies, where they want to use less invasive techniques, maintain biodiversity, and build an agroecosystem in balance with the wine and with the man. There was Professor Pagliotti also present in the test, in this minimum tillage test. That is not really widely applied in the vineyard. Together, together we discuss around this approach also in Umbria. And now, in the end, another experience in farm Ermacora with Nicola, the son of the owner. We introduced an approach to this soil from 2021, sorry. In Ermacora company that aims to be conservative, regenerative, and economical and innovative. This equipment is created by Mauro Colovati that allow us to aerate, decompact, revitalize, then give life back to the soil with a special disc equipment. That the compaction of the soil starts from above and not from below, thus favoring microorganisms, insects, and arthropods. For too many years, little attention has been paid to the vitality of the soil, neglect the problem of compactness, and ultimately lost its fertility. We believe that we are doing can be a radical, economic, effective, and regenerative change to give life back to the soil. With this tool, we can eliminate obsolete equipment in favor of the most innovative modern ones. This is our also challenge. Here, the last our experience is made in Piedmont, in Langhe, Barolo, where the practice of the superficial soil tillage is a solution for a redevelopment of the clay and silty soil, such as typical of the Langhe, characterized by low permeability, about 2 millimeters per hectare per hour. Thanks to the creation of these micro cracks up to 5 centimeters deep, the capacity of the soil to retain water is increasing like 100%. This not only favors a better distribution of water in the soil, but also a greater supply of oxygen, which represent a precious energy source for the soil microbiome. This non-invasive mechanical technique represents the basis for improving quality in the vineyard, directly influencing by the parameters the quality of potential of the wine of the vineyard, like I told you before, Bigot index, in which of these 9 parameters, water, stress, and biodiversity in particular. The last connection to Instagram is this, in which we can see some picture and a short video. This is 2 rows, one managed with this, another normally managed soil, and this is a small video about 2 different rows. Here it was tilled. Here you can see how it works. It's very innovative and very, very interesting, arrived from the minimum tillage concept from the soil. You see how the grass remain maybe in the next one, yes, remain some part cutted and another part remain with the roots and alive, but this is the combination. It's very important. Look, and okay, in another situation, you can see just 2-3 centimeters deep, 4 centimeters, no more, and very oxygenation of the soil. Fine. Come back and go to conclusions. In the end, soil management is very delicate subject. Tilled or turf, there are 2 choices. Grass cover is the most sustainable practice, but this must be managed to increase the benefits and minimize the negative effects. The 2 agronomic practices that I share with you are 2 possible paths applied by various Italian and foreign winemakers who are giving very positive results from the point of view of management cost also. However, the effects in different soils and the wines and therefore in the different terroirs must be investigated and measured. Monitored. thank you to everyone for your attention. And if you want, follow me on Instagram or on YouTube. Thank you. And I'm remain connect for the questions.
So thank you very much, Giovanni. I will be going for the Q&A session. I will just share my screen. Okay, perfect. You should be able to see my screen, yes. Again, for all of you guys, the recordings of this webinar will be available. They will be available both on our website, on infowine.com, and they will also be available probably before on our YouTube channel. So I'll be just sharing with you guys the link here in the chat so that you can be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, doing that, you'll be notified for all of our new videos on that platform. So thank you very much. I don't know if Ettore, you can turn on your webcam to maybe greet us very shortly and give us a few words. Ettore, the man behind this webinar and the other two webinars that were before this one. This is a series that is talking about eco-resilience of the vineyard. So Ettore, you can maybe give us a short speech on the matter. Thank you very much. We cannot hear you, Ettore, actually. No, I don't know why it doesn't work. Maybe you can do like this. You can try to connect with your phone. I will send you a text on how to do it. I will ask to Caterina to turn on her webcam so that we can start with the Q&A session, and then I will explain you via WhatsApp how to use it. And of course, Giovanni, if you manage to connect your webcam as well and your microphone, that's great. Otherwise, we will try to make to Caterina the question that were supposed to be for you. So Jonathan is asking us, Caterina, if there's a way that we can measure the contribution of chemical crop, either a chemical method or a biochemical method, the impact of cover crops in many years. So thank you.
Okay, I couldn't find the the microphone. So yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. That is very important. Like most of the time when you're gonna read on the published paper on viticulture, especially those conducted in the field, all of them are gonna be having like real statements. So all the datas and the results and the effectiveness of using cover crops is indeed was stated. Most of the time parameters that are actually covered are those vegetative growth of the vine itself, but also some production correlated parameters such as indeed yields rather than quality of the grapes and the must. So most of the time when we read papers that are published and they are talking about viticulture, they do have at least 3 years of experiment because it's a tree crop. So they need to do at least 2 to 3 years of experience and sampling. So also those that I reported, the one that was based in Bologna area, that I just reported the data set coming from the evapotranspiration and evaporation of the interrow. But in that experiment and in that paper, you can also find information about the production, the yields, and so far, so on. So what else? So I would say, yeah, there's a bunch of them. The only problem is that most of the time when we think about trying to understand if the cover crop is effective, is that we only focus on one service or disservice coming from the cover crop use. So we are still not able to have like a real situation as also, as we said, like specific situation, like depending on the specific place we are and how all the variables we're dealing with are changing conditions a little bit. So if you want to read something, I would suggest you go into those research papers and maybe yeah.
16.
I hope that was clear. I was hearing so many noises I couldn't really follow my brain thoughts. So.
Yes, we are trying to connect with Ettore and with Giovanni. I think that now Giovanni can hear us. I don't know, probably, maybe Giovanni, can you hear us?
Yes,
okay.
I can. I hear you.
Okay, great. You're connecting from your cell phone?
Yes, my video is not available. I don't know why, I don't find nothing to connect my video.
Yeah, it probably is just because with the cell phone, I don't know why lately it doesn't allow to connect with
maybe something. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I hear
worry,
you.
I will. So there's a lot of congratulations for both of your presentation, Giovanni. We got some questions, so we'll ask you.
Yeah.
So Francisco, I think is from Chile, if I remember correctly, is asking us if you keep the cover grass during harvest also.
Keep the cover grass during the harvest. Yes, why not? Don't have this opportunity, no? Cioè, no, it's normal to for in our region, in our area, in particular in north of Italy, it's normal to seed cover the grass during the harvest, before the harvest sometimes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So I don't know if Caterina also or Ettore, can you try to speak? Maybe we can hear you this time. I don't know if you managed to connect.
Do you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
No, I was just trying to say before, but my microphone was off for some reason. First of all, I want to thank you, thank Giovanni and Caterina for giving us the possibility to just to listen and to get results from their trials and long experience in these very important issues concerning the use of the cover crop in the context of the resilience of the vineyard management in the context of measures for the sustainable development at farm level. You know that this series of webinars they are focusing on how to implement at farm level the measures for the continuous improvement of the in terms of best practice of the farm activity toward achieving goals of sustainability. That's it's very it was very much clear from the speech given that actually we know a lot. We have to work at local level. We need experience because to really have a service and not this service, we need to apply best practice and the cultivation of the cover crop is not something that is so it's just distributing seeds, but it's something that requires a correct methodology and systematic approach in the soil management and the plant management. So I think that's really useful what we get, and lots of work should be done. And but in reality, we have already results that can be transposed from one locality to another locality. The cycle of the organic matter, the cycle of carbon, the soil physics, the water balance into the soil, is something which is very much dynamic, and for too many years we didn't realize in a precise way on how to use resource in this context in sustainable way. Today we should be precise. We need, I mean, such experience and especially correct methodology for implementation. So I really thank again Caterina and Giovanni for the speech given, and of course Francesco, to you for the coordination and moderation of this webinar. That will be ready together with the other series in the website, as you mentioned, and will be part also of a future activity in terms of information and training that we want to do in this context. Thank you to all the participants. That I see that there are a lot. So this is clear evidence that this topic, this issue of the farm management is very well felt from the stakeholders.
Thank you very much, Ettore. So I will ask also to Caterina to share again her screen. So for all of you guys that are here connecting, you should probably be able to see on the GoToWebinar platform, clicking on the orange arrow on the right side of your screen, you should be able to see that there's a document that is listed where that you can download the PDF, and Caterina wrote it. So Caterina, you can maybe say a few things about the PDF, the document that we just shared with all of them.
Yeah, I think that is the paper of the last pot trial I showed, having that many species, the pot trial analyzing 15 different species and evapotranspiration parameters and root land density and so far so on. And as many of you asked me about the legend and the names of the specific species, I think you can just have a look at the paper and hopefully you're gonna find it interesting and useful as well. And yeah, if you feel like you want to reach out to me, please do. I'm always happy to hear feedbacks and everything.
Great. There's a lot of thanks and everything for your presentation, guys. So I'll be sharing those in the chat. Of course, if all of you want to have more information and you didn't know of InfoWine platform before, you can go and check out our website. You will find like a lot of free information on viticulture and enology, and there is just probably like 2% of the documents that you will find there that are pay-per-view. And actually, you can have access to all of those pay-per-view documents with a subscription of 60 euros per year membership, and that's all that you need to have access of all the database of information that you can find on InfoWine. So Giovanni, I will try to come back with you. Okay, you should be able to turn on your microphone again, and
yes.
So I will. There you are. So Samuele asked us when to choose whether to chop or roll the turf.
When? Yes, it's a good question. Because not every season is dissimilar to each other. This season, in particular in Europe, was very wet. A lot of rain, and these conditions was very good to maintain for a long time the presence of cover grass in the vineyard in all the rows, and was rolled very late, and or minimum tilled very late. But the minimum tillage with the revitalizer are a different way to manage. But rolling, the last year in opposite was very drought, early, and the growth of the grass was stopped decisively 1 month before this year. I don't know, in Italy in the middle April, in the middle of the April. it means that we need to check the water in the soil to have the good time to stop to grow the competition of the grass with the vineyard.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Giovanni. So I will ask to Caterina maybe to share again your graph, the one that showed the different kind of attributes to all of your species, because I have a few people asking this question, and so I will once I can see your screen, I can then confirm to you and come back with you with another question.
Measure now the surface.
Yes.
Measure this.
Okay. You have your microphone. You have your microphone closed.
Sorry. Which one were you asking me to do?
I think the one above all of those with the.
Oh, above, like one of the schemes.
Tables, yeah.
Right.
Or the first
like
table.
maybe that one here?
This one. Yeah. I think so. Let me know, Rati, if you were asking for this particular one. And I will come back with you, Rati, because you have a kind of tough question. So, okay, says yes. Okay, great. So
Do you
I will
want me
start with
to show everybody the like bibliography I have for the presentation, as some of the people ask? I don't know.
Oh, yes, sure. You can share the bibliography, yeah.
Depends
Or maybe
on
you can share it on the chat, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And so there's a few people asking. So the first question is there an assessment of drought tolerance from common cover crops?
What? Sorry, can you repeat?
There's an assessment of drought tolerance for common cover crops.
That's a good question. Again, that's a tricky one. Actually, the reason why one of the assessment that was conducted in the pot trial was meant to see how differently they use water, and actually based on how much water they were using, we were then thinking about how much they could tolerate drought. And there's not much evidence about species that are drought tolerant. I mean, there is some of them, some grass species that do dry out a little bit, but they don't die, and they keep on maintaining a sort of coverage of the soil, even though not being actively growing, which is also interesting. And then they do start growing once the rains come back again. And some of those are also, Festuca ovina is one of those. There are some varieties of Festuca ovina that actually do behave like that. So some of them could be interesting, but there's still so much research that needs to be done. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. That is insightful as well. So for you, Giovanni, I will turn on your microphone again. When specific cover crops needs to be seeded, does it depend by the type of cover crops, or there's a time, general timing for the seeding of a cover crop?
Vado?
So, yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm ready. The first question is why reseeding the cover crop? But for me, it's very natural, because if it's possible to reseed naturally, is economically, is a cycle, no? That you start with the first time with the spread of different families of grass, different seeds, because we want to increase the biodiversity of the vegetal biodiversity, no? But after, I think it's more convenient, more clever to use the seeds that you already have, no? You have already possibility to have many seeds, and like you have seen in one of the video, these seeds regrow alone in very important way, in the end of the season. That's it. This is an opportunity to make what is really necessary. It's not necessary for me. So every year, restart from the beginning every year. That's it. Maybe, like Caterina showed us, if we want to have an opportunity to have a specific effects done from a specific species, in that case, I can use that and change something. I don't know if this was the good answer for the question.
I think so. So we close with the last question from Rati. I think that if you guys want to reach out for more questions to both of the speakers, Giovanni already shared with us his social media page and his YouTube channel, so you can go and check those out. Maybe Caterina, if you want, you can send me your email that I can share with people for Q&A that they might have. This is quite of a long question from Rati, but you can give a short answer. Maybe if you want, Rati, you can get in touch with Caterina to ask her in detail what are her recommendations. So Rati is asking us, could you recommend some cover crops to protect soil from wind erosion, or fight weeds, retain water, and provide nutrition to the vines? I would say that I don't know if there's a specific one for those 4 things, but maybe there's a blend of cover crops that you can use.
I can start, and then if Giovanni has anything to add, I think he can go, right? I do agree as the last thing you just said. I mean, the idea of also my presentation was to make sure everybody understand that each species can actually help you achieve different goals, and if there's no one single cover crop species that can achieve all of your goals, which is pretty often happening actually, you want to be able to select the ones that can like coexist while helping you achieve as many benefits as possible, right? So I would add, for example, some legumes, some other, I don't know, some grasses for sure, because those grasses have a specific root system that allows to protect the soil from erosion. And so together with legumes, they will add nutrients and nitrogen to the plant. So I would think about just putting together different species.
That's great. I don't know if Giovanni want to add some more. I don't know, maybe Giovanni has his audio closed. Okay, but anyway, so thank you very much, Rati, for your question. I would say that we can close the webinar. I will let Caterina, Ettore, and Giovanni say a last goodbye to all of the people that are connected here. And I think that this was a very pleasant webinar and a great way to close this series of webinar on the eco-resilience organized by Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore, with Ettore Capri as the main organizer and the person that we have to thank for organizing and presenting you all these webinars. Ettore was in the backstage of most of the webinar, but he was in the very front stage of the organization of those events. So thank you very much, Ettore. And Ettore, if you want to say a final greeting for this webinar, and maybe when to expect some new events on these kind of topics.
No, thank you, Francesco. No, just to say goodbye and have a nice summer. It is ongoing, and of course, I mean, from September we will organize other webinars in this context of the specific measures to be part of this huge portfolio of activity, practical activity that we can implement in our farms. Okay, thank you very much again.
Yeah, and of course, if someone of you is connecting from Chile, Argentina, or South Africa, maybe it's not going to be a good summer for you guys. But if you have a break that you can enjoy, so that's great for you guys. This was our last webinar before the break of summer. Of course, we will be back again in September. So you should look for our next communication on our webinars. And maybe let me know where you found out about this webinar, and if this was your first webinar, let me know if you found it out maybe on social media, on Instagram or whatever. So maybe you can let me know in the comment. So where you found out about us, and if you didn't know of InfoWine. So Giovanni and Caterina, if you want to make a last goodbye for all of the people connected here, you can do it now.
Bye, Caterina.
Okay, no, I just want to thank you all for participating. It was nice to have so many people and from all over the world, so that was great, and hopefully you could find interesting inputs, even though the examples I brought were from mainly Europe and Italy, but hopefully that was interesting for you all. And thank you again, all of you, Francesco and Ettore as well. Thank you.
For me, thank you for the organization, and Ettore, of course, Francesco and Caterina, but also all of you for your for the participation. For me, it's very important to share information, because I believe in this. I believe in sharing information to promote knowledge, to promote the changing in viticulture. For this, I spend my time with pleasure, and like this hour with you. Thank you, and see you the next time.
Thank you very much. So Giovanni, thank you, Ettore, and thank you, Caterina, again. So that was great to have you here, host my platform. So thank you very much, and I'll be glad to have you here again for the next season, maybe. So thank you very much, guys, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.